So, in the early 2000s, there was a show called Ghost Whisperer, and I was obsessed with it. The show aired on CBS in 2005 and had a total of 5 seasons. Now, the show starred Jennifer Love Hewitt, and she played the role of Melinda Gordon, who is a ghost whisperer slash medium, and she's able to talk to spirits, and that's basically the focus of the show. So, other characters besides Melinda are Andrea, who runs an antique store with Melinda, and at the end of season one, she does die, and she's then replaced with a girl named Delia. And Delia also helps run the antique store and becomes her best friend. Melinda is also married to Jim, and Jim is a paramedic. So, in the Ghost Whisperer universe, the way things work is basically when people die, they either cross into the light or they're trapped on Earth as ghosts. And this is usually because they have some sort of unfinished business, which is what propels Melinda's role in interfering with these spirits. So the basic plot of the show is that a person dies and Melinda has to help them with whatever their unfinished business is. So basically, Melinda gets to know the spirit, she learns about them, and figures out what's keeping them here on Earth. And then she goes and usually talks to the family members or loved ones, or whatever the spirit's unfinished business is, she tries to resolve it. So usually the episode ends with her resolving the issue, and the spirit then crosses into the light. I would say that most of the spirits are like nice spirits and just like confused, but there are some more like menacing ones, and they put Melinda's life at danger. Also, during the show, Melinda's powers or gifts is a huge secret. However, there's no way that half the town doesn't know that she's like a medium. Basically, at the start of the show, we know that Jim knows that she can talk to ghosts and that she told him this sometime off screen. Also, at some point, Andrea finds out in season one, and then Delia, some point later in the show, also finds out. But other than that, we're supposed to believe that it's a huge secret. Usually, when she has to go to see one of the loved ones, she ends up having to reveal that, like, she's talking to them right now, and then she'll, like, have to reveal some, like, personal piece of information so that they believe her. A lot of the times, they get really angry and they think that she's just lying. But that being said, she's still revealing her gift to all these people, but it is supposed to be a big secret and like a big deal when she reveals it to like her close loved ones, just not when she's revealing it to random townspeople.
Candace, I saw Kenny.
What do you mean?
Sometimes when a person dies, their spirit's left behind. They have things to finish, messages to get across, or they don't know that they've died. They don't know how to take the next step. I've spoken to Kenny, and he doesn't understand what's happened to him, and he's waiting for you to find him.
You want me to believe you saw my son?
I also really love like the aesthetics of this show. The wardrobe that Jennifer Love Hewitt had in this show was honestly iconic, and she was killing all of the outfits that she got to wear. In most of the scenes, she's wearing a lot of these really cute dresses, and sometimes they do style her in more of that like 2000 style with like the high boots and the scarf. But honestly, it was popular for a reason, and she's pulling it off. The one thing that I am questioning is where she's getting the money for these, because last time I checked, ghost whispering and medium doesn't really pay at all. But Jim is a paramedic, and she does own an antique store, and she must be selling those high priced items, and he must be bringing in the big bucks. Also, like the town of Grandview that they live in is super cute. It's giving very much like Vampire Diaries vibes, and it's just like a very small, quaint town. The town of Grandview has this really cute downtown, and that's where Melinda's antique shop is located. So we get a lot of great shots, especially of like this little town center where they have like this cool statue, and I think like the town hall. But overall, just like a vibe of a town, and it seems like a really cute place to live. The show also had some crazy celebrity cameos. For instance, Christine Balanski for my Chicago fans out there. Also my Eloise fans, if you remember Prunella.
Little boys who play with fire get their fingers burned.
Hilary Duff was in an episode. Joey King, Brie Larson, Mae Whitman, Lori Loughlin, Mary J. Blige. Also Abigail Breslin, but I'm not really surprised because what wasn't she in the 2000s? Also, Matthew Morrison was in it, but boo.
Oh, do you feel me now?
So, one thing also that I love about this show is that it has the most iconic intro. So, when it comes to the actual plot of the show, I'll be honest, I don't remember it that well. When I described the plot earlier, basically all episodes were pretty much structured that way. However, I do have a memory of two episodes. One is a very early episode, and it's like a bee episode. Like some guy gets stung by a bunch of bees, and that's how he dies. And I remember that's like ingrained in my brain. And as a kid, I remember being terrified watching that one. And like I just had a huge fear of bees from that point onward. Another episode that was also very freaky was later in the show. It might have even been like one of the last seasons. Was this character called like Sally Stitch or something like that, something Sally. And basically, it was this really creepy doll, and it had like X's on the eyes. And I remember by that point, I think the show had started to kind of like drift from its like original vision, and they were trying to like kind of up the stakes. But yeah, I was terrified of that episode.
Sally Stitch?
So, also when it comes to plot lines, I remember there's a pretty big one where at some point Jim dies, and this is devastating. Jim and Melinda are made for each other, they are a perfect couple. They set unrealistic expectations of love, and when he dies, I was devastated. I wasn't sure how they were going to continue the show, but basically, the way they do it is that when he dies, he enters some other get dead guy's body named Sam. So it gets pretty confusing from here. So basically, Jim's spirit is in Sam's body, but he doesn't have any of his memories and he doesn't remember Melinda.
Jim, it's you. You're back.
Easy, buddy. Easy, easy, easy. Up. Do I know you?
But Melinda saw Jim's spirit go into Sam's body, so she knows that Jim is in Sam, but Jim doesn't know this. But anyway, a big part of that plot line is Melinda trying to convince Sam slash Jim that Jim is Jim in the spirit. If that didn't make any sense, it's because it didn't make sense when I was watching it. So basically, eventually, Jim gets his memories back, and from this point forward in this show, the actor that was playing Sam is just replaced by the original Jim actor. And it's like it never happened. It's just like Jim and Melinda again. And I think they just did this because even they realized that it was way too confusing. Also, eventually, I think the last season, Melinda and Jim have a son. And this son can also see spirits, but it can see like evil spirits. And honestly, I think that that's when the show kind of really went downhill. I would say the first season that is honestly the best one, and it just kind of goes downhill from there. But nevertheless, it's iconic. And even though the last season wasn't that good, it was still such a great show. Also, this show, like any great 2000s show, had a computer game to go along with it. If you've seen Jenny Nicholson's The Vampire Diaries video, which I highly recommend, go watch it, link will be below, then you know that having a computer game linked with your TV show means it's an instant success. Basically, the way the game worked is you had 2 stories to choose from. Apparently, there were originally supposed to be 5, but the game was kind of a flop, so they only had 2. And basically from there, you play through a set story that's based around how the episodes are structured, where Melinda is helping a ghost cross over to the afterlife. I will say, they really did some of these characters dirty with the animation. Jim deserves way better. He did not work his way through paramedic school or whatever training they have to go through to be characterized in a video game like this. I will say that the game does give us this super cool map of Grandview. Basically, the game is like a lot of other 2000s games where you have to like use point and click to find objects around the screen. They do also have this like fun section though that's honestly like I Spy, which I'm a huge fan of. They also have some other like challenge minigame throughout, but the I Spy is what I was here for. Basically, the game ends pretty much the same way that all the episodes of the show do, where we have helped Melinda to communicate with this ghost and resolve whatever issue they had, and then the ghost goes into the light. I feel like in the end, this show just takes up such a weird space in my brain because I remember so much about it, yet I also remember none of the plot lines. I remember exactly like how I felt watching it, and like I remember the scenes. When I was doing like some research for this, I saw like a bunch of old pictures and I was like, I remember that vividly, but I couldn't tell you like half of the characters' names or like the plot lines. In the end, I really recommend this show. I think you should go watch it. Yeah, it was really good.